Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the 25 Days of Real Christmas, a series where we review some old and new holiday favorite films. My name's Kevin.
And I'm John.
And we are the Real Movie Guys. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Four Christmases. A couple struggles to visit all four of their divorced parents on Christmas. Now, John, we got a lot of these kind of movies around this time, right? I think we got like a lot of Vince Vaughn comedies. Like Vince Vaughn, I like him, don't get me wrong. It's just we got a lot of Vince Vaughn at once. And I felt like the train never slowed down, if that makes any sense. Like we got like this, The Dilemma, Couples Retreat, Fred Claus. We got a lot of him at once. And this was during that time. Now, Vince Vaughn, for me, is take it or leave it. Sometimes Vince Vaughn's like really on, and I really like his comedy. Sometimes he's just Vince Vaughn. Like, you know, he just kind of shows up for that paycheck, does his couple straight man quick quips, and then he's out of there, right? I think a lot of his more recent work's actually been better if you've been following him. He actually did Raw and Cell Block 99. If you haven't seen that movie, you're doing yourself a disservice. Check that out. Not the Vince Vaughn I'm used to. It's a uber violent psychopath, so something completely different. But, you know, again, Vince Vaughn, for the most part, I think he's pretty reliable at being Vince Vaughn. And you can also make that argument of Reese Witherspoon. She's kind of the same perky, happy-go-lucky girl, yay. That's pretty much Reese Witherspoon, who's also been in some better things lately. She was in Little Fires Everywhere, which is a really good TV show I do recommend. You know, she's gotten better with age, too. So seeing both of these people in this movie and kind of skipping it around the time it came out, I'll say I wasn't too excited to go into this film right off the bat, because I'm like, all right, well, looks like another Vince Vaughn comedy, another Reese Witherspoon generic film, and you know, for the most part, it kind of is to me. Now, John, what are some of your early impressions on this movie?
It was just a weird movie altogether. The whole premise, the fact of they keep going away and their family pretending like they knew that they didn't know where they were going.
So let's talk about some positives with this movie, because there are some things that actually I think do work overall with this concept. Right off the bat, I think it's a fun perspective of having to spend time with family and the pure hectic feeling of the holiday. So in some regard, I feel like it does capture the essence of the holiday, especially if you do have to visit multiple families. Like, for instance, if you have to visit like your family, or like for me, for example, like you visit your own family, and then I have to visit my wife's family. So you spend time with at least two families. In this movie, they just took that and multiplied it. So now they have four families that they're spending time with, which some people probably do to some regard, right? I mean, some people do have multiple households they have to spend time with, and it gets crazy because there are interactions differently with each one. You know, you act one way at one parent's house, you act another way at another parent's house. And especially when you're in a relationship and you don't know where it's going or where it's going to end up, it kind of tests that, right? I think it is like a big test, and it kind of has a fun, you know, unique perspective to that, I would say.
Shows
Yeah.
the dichotomy of how different two people who get together, their families could be.
Yeah.
Like they have a totally different lifestyle and grew up a different way.
It adds to that old adage, right? You can't spell families without lies, because there's a lot of that going on in this movie, and some of it works, some of it not so much, but you know, overall, I think it's fine.
I think one of the best parts too of this movie is when he finally it's like towards kind of the end, he leaves her at the like her dad's house or something,
Right.
and he goes to like his dad and he like tells him something, I think I'm done with her or something, and his dad goes, oh, I knew I liked you for some odd reason.
Yeah, Robert
why don't you
Duvall.
come in and have a beer? Like that's
Duvall
the
and
one
his,
thing
like,
they
dry
bond over.
humor. No, it works. Like I said, yeah, the one time they actually bond. I think a lot of it too works. As much as, like I said, I was kind of like digging a little bit earlier on in Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon, they do have some pretty good chemistry together for the most part. A lot of their lines were actually ad-libbed, which is interesting. And what I also think is interesting is I don't know if this is true, there were rumors like around this time, they absolutely hated each other. Which, yeah, that doesn't really come across. I feel like they do genuinely like each other in this movie, so I'm kind of surprised if they did hate each other. Again, who knows? That's Hollywood tabloids for you, and that's just rumor, hearsay. But you can tell a lot of it was improvised. I mean, Vince Vaughn, I think, is at his best when he just goes off the cuff and he lets that natural comedy flow. And you could see it. And I think Reese Witherspoon plays really well with him. I think they have like a good natural chemistry together. Especially their little banters like before going to like the parents' house. Like before and after, they have like, usually they have like a little scene here or there together where they're just going over and reflecting on everything that happened. I really like those scenes. I thought those were some of the better scenes in the movie.
Listen, if you want a safe word, you just let me know. We'll leave right now.
Yeah, that was a good
And
scene.
she says it. He goes, all right, let's leave. So you're like, I'm gonna go inside. It's like, are you sure?
But that's like a natural conversation I could see someone having, like when you don't want to go somewhere and you're trying to get out of it. Again, it works to that regard, and it's very natural, a very, very good chemistry together. Also, the only real other character, there's a lot of people that are pretty good in this movie. Kristen Chenoweth is in this movie. Like we said, Robert Duvall, Sissy Spacek, John Voight. The standout for me, out of all these people, though, I'd have to say Jon Favreau. I think standed out the most in this movie, playing the gruff MMA brother of Vince Vaughn. I don't know what it is. Jon Favreau's just a very strange man if you look at his career. If you sit there and really look at what Jon Favreau's been in, we talked about a movie earlier this year when he was in The Replacements, which was a football movie, and then he has this as a like super aggressive character, and then he's in a movie like Chef. What the hell is that, man? You know, he plays this like very wide range of characters, and good for him. He's stepped more into the director's chair now, but a lot of people, I don't know if they give him enough credit. Jon Favreau's got some pretty good chops to him.
I feel like most of the characters in this were pretty decent at their roles.
Right. I wouldn't say anyone was like above average, but I'd give you decent. You know, I didn't hate anybody. And I think that kind of goes into my negatives for this movie. The plot at times, I think, just feels a bit forced. For example, it's a bunch of cliche families that are just pulled from like a comedy basket lottery style. Like someone said like, all right, here's 20 different like cliche families, pick out 4 of them and we're going to put those into a movie. That's kind of what this felt like. It felt kind of directionless at times. Like it just felt like they were just having jokes for the sake of having jokes. Like the connective tissue just really wasn't there for me for these families. Like, and I think that kind of slows down the pace too. This movie felt very slow. Like there were a lot of scenes that just really dragged on at times for me.
Oh yeah, especially the scene when they're going inside the bounce house thing.
Right. Like that wasn't funny.
That was just kind of boring. It was like, oh my god.
But I didn't laugh. Did you? I really didn't laugh at any of it. I didn't think any of it was funny at all. Like just her trauma from a bouncy house. Like Reese Witherspoon, we're supposed to believe, is like just traumatized from it, and she doesn't want to go in, but she has to face her demons and get the pregnancy test. And like, oh, I peed on it, and then her niece drops. Like, what is that? Like, what do we want? It was just stupid. Again, it feels like a lottery. Like they're just like, all right, we got pregnancy test, bouncy house. All right, let's put this in a movie. Go shoot that movie. That's what this feels like at times, and I don't really appreciate that. You know, some people like that like almost sketch comedy show routine of a movie. It just doesn't work for me, and because of that, not all the humor really lands like I think the movie wants it to. Like the bouncy house scene, for example. I bet in the writer's room, they thought that was really hilarious. Like, I could see them going, oh, wouldn't that be so funny? Like, you know, Reese Witherspoon crawling on her hands and knees and she, like, starts beating up kids in a bouncy house. You know, they were probably, like, laughing their asses off when they were writing that scene. Just didn't translate that well. Even the stage play scene didn't really do that much for me. Like, Vince Vaughn had some good lines in it where he started, like, ad-libbing his lines for when they're doing the manger scene with him and Reese Witherspoon. But, like, overall, it was kind of stupid. Like it was really long and obnoxious. Like it didn't fit into like they had this whole day planned out where they had to visit 4 families, and you mean they had time to do that whole thing? This concept works well once in a movie, right? Like the whole central plot, maybe if you had to visit one family and you have all this craziness going on, it kind of makes sense, like the, you know, the family from hell kind of storyline you're trying to tell. But when you have to do it 4 different times in the same movie, I don't think it works that much, man. I don't really think... I think it's too much. It's overload.
I feel like it was going for more of a comedic route, and it wasn't as funny as I would hope it would be.
It wasn't that funny. That's pretty plain to see. It just wasn't that funny. Again, their jokes weren't as funny as they wanted them to be. Like, earlier on, maybe I had a good time when they visited Vince Vaughn's father, when they visited Robert Duvall's house. Like, okay, you know, we had a good time here, and, you know, we had some jokes. I felt like once we got past the first house... we saw all the jokes that were going to come, right? Like they did all the family jokes. Like what much more else was there to go beyond that? Like we kind of did everything. We're just going to do it 3 more times after the first time. And it's a shame because it kind of feels like, if you want to look at it this way, imagine you saw like the first family was the first movie, and then the second family was the second, and then the third and the fourth. That's what this felt like. It looked like you took like a movie and its 3 sequels and slammed them all into one movie. That's what this felt like.
Yeah,
It was just too much overload for me. And a lot of it just felt phoned in. Like a lot of the actors, besides maybe like Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon and I would say Jon Favreau, a lot of them really weren't trying. I don't know if you would agree with that. Everyone just felt like they were just kind of reading their lines, getting a paycheck, and getting the hell out of there. A lot of it just felt like it for me, especially like Jon Voight, Mary Steenburgen. You know, she was good, but she wasn't blowing it out of the park or anything. Even Kristen Chenoweth, who I think is really funny, I think she just, you know, just kind of there for a paycheck. Like, hi, goodbye, see ya. You know, it's a Vince Vaughn movie, Reese Witherspoon. I know we'll get those two audiences. Let me just get my money and get out of here. A lot of it, unfortunately, just felt phoned into me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Totally agree.
The last thing, too, this kind of irks me the most, I think, more than any of the other things, which is saying a lot, other than the season being the reason for the visits in this movie, it really has nothing to do with Christmas. It really didn't. Like, this could have taken place just any time of the year. The only reason they were visiting these families was Christmas, but besides it being just the Christmas holiday, it had no Christmas themes really involved with it. Had the whole ending of this movie really had nothing to do with, like, finding betterment and family, or nothing really to do with the holiday at all. I think they forgot it was Christmas, to be honest with you, at the end of this movie.
Well, that's also, too, what we've been seeing a lot with just doing these holiday movies.
Right.
Is they have very little to do with the holiday itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just like it happens around that time, so they call these Christmas movies or holiday movies.
That annoys me. That's like false advertising almost, right? But again, I don't want to take too much away from it. I laughed an okay amount of time. Again, Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon, they have good chemistry, whether they liked each other or not. I thought they did fine, you know, overall. Overall, you know, it had some decent jokes in it. But I think we're at that point, though, where we're going to give our final scores. I'm going to give Four Christmases a C-. It's not terrible. That's the best thing I can really say about this movie. If you like Vince Vaughn, if you like Reese Witherspoon, if you like just family comedies about, you know, being in awkward situations and having to deal with that and what comes of it and cheesy romantic lines and will they, won't they kind of thing, you'll probably have yourself a good time. Just don't expect a lot, you know, don't expect this great comedy, you know, especially from, you know, the caliber of actors we have in this movie. I think you'll be let down that way. But if you're just looking to have some mindless fun, you know, it's harmless, but not as good as a lot of people made this out to me. A lot of people actually really do like this movie, I feel like, and I don't really get it. I'm not seeing it here. John, where do you stand with this film?
I give this movie a C. It's just average. It's not amazing. It doesn't do anything that's outstanding, really, but it doesn't do anything where you're just, wow, I gotta turn this off or I can't finish watching it.
I would say that. I agree.
It's very, like, middle of the pack movie. Like,
yeah, a little less.
Definitely not one you have to see every Christmas or.
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly,
or anything.
If I never saw it again, that's fine. There's better movies, better Christmas movies for hell sure, but there's nothing that special. It doesn't do anything different. You know, it kind of relates to what I was saying when we started this video. You know, Vince Vaughn, middle of the road comedies were a thing for a while. I think this just added to that list. It's nothing different. It's nothing really that special. I'm not going to really remember it. I kind of already forgot about it, to be honest with you. But John, where can the people find us at home?
You can find us over on YouTube. The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. Like our channel, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. You can also find us on Twitter, at The Real Movie Guy on Twitter. You can also listen to us on many podcasting platforms, such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure, we are also available in podcast form at iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen at any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search out The Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you all again so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. And don't forget to tune in all this month as the holiday festivities continue during the 25 days of Real Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll catch you next time.
See ya!